Hi, my name is William.la.rochelle. I'm going to be looking at one of my shorts from way back in 2000. It's called Nic Fit. There should be a link to it in the video description below in case you want to watch it first. I'm not going to probably get around to doing serious commentary tracks for any of my work. A lot of it's pretty obscure. My view count for a typical YouTube video is in the single digits, so I don't have any illusions about it. This is pretty much just for posterity and for interest, maybe in the future. But ultimately, I was breaking the ice when I did Nic Fit, getting back into shooting short films. I had done quite a lot already since 1984, but around 2000, I had to get back into it. I had to get back into shooting film as well. Uh, Digital hadn't really taken on at that point either yet, so yeah, when I met somebody that had a Bolex in a coffee shop, this person had seen me sitting there just drawing storyboards and introduced himself and told me about this Bolex that he had in the course of our conversation, and he wasn't doing anything with it. And a buddy of mine happened to have some 16mm film in storage, and so he sold me a roll. It was 50 ISO film stock, so it required a lot of light, and so I chose one of my exterior films, which would be the least complicated thing to shoot. I had done a bunch of short scripts the year before, anticipating a need for shorts. Nic Fit was the one I chose. It's a public service announcement sort of thing for cigarettes, ultimately. But that grew from kind of a storyboarding experiment that I had done, just looking at the typical Western duel, but thinking instead of guns, using lighters. And ultimately, it's about two women fighting over a cigarette in the middle of the street. As absurd as that sounds, hopefully that's amusing. And it was visual. I ended up putting narration into it later on, just because ultimately a lot of the time people take information in that way, and it helps the pacing to a certain extent. But it was visual, and it doesn't really necessarily need the narration. Um, we didn't get any permission to shoot where we shot. It was in behind the apartment where my cousin was living at the time. And she was aware of the shoot, but the property management wasn't. I didn't actually seek any permission. I figured it was just a guerrilla shoot, get in, get out sort of thing. And that was pretty much what it was. The property management representative did come to visit us and ask around, see what was going on. And I was able to persuade him that yes, we were kind of just sort of a student group or whatever, and he was satisfied that we were not going to be taking very long, and that we weren't shooting anything that he wouldn't want property owners to know about or whatever. So, and if we had a snack table, a craft services table, I think that would have looked like we were there for a while, or that we were intending to stay for a while and making a morning of it or whatever. And luckily we didn't. I mention that because originally there was going to be a different actress in one of the roles, and her first comment when she arrived there was that there's no craft service table, and she wanted a bottle of water, so I went to get that for her. And by the time she came back, she had other ideas about the film and other concerns. What we had discovered already is that there was a problem with the compatibility of the tripod and the camera, the base of the camera, so that I could rest the camera on the tripod, and if there's no movement, it would be able to stay there, so I could get a couple of my stationary shots I needed. But any movement, anything that was a little bit more complicated, I had storyboarded. Those things would have to go by the wayside, and the camera operator assured me he can just cover the fight handheld, and most fight scenes typically and according to film grammar, there should be that instability and a certain amount of handheld in there. But I had some, fancier ideas that I was going to play with, and they weren't necessary. I was able to set those aside. Now, the only problem is that this actress, hearing this part of the conversation earlier, had some time to build that up in her head to be something that it wasn't, and she figured because there's a girl fight that there's something untoward about it, and she walked. She said the shoe feared that we could, insert some pornographic images in there. I don't know what kind of film that would be then, inserting any images other than what we're actually shooting. And yeah, but that was enough. And then, and I bring that up, it came to mind recently because she brought it up on the internet to me, threw that at me for some reason, but ultimately things worked out because we had another actress there, Maya, who stepped in, and she was cool with it all, and everybody understood that the script was the script, and that it was all for fun and not necessarily, I don't see it as anything kind of salacious, but um, what happened is yeah, I spoke to the crew members and the actresses, and I asked them, do you think we need a craft services table? Does anybody want any water? And no, everybody knew the time crunch we were under, and they didn't really care about that kind of thing. And then I asked her about the other stuff that the actress had brought up, and nobody else had a problem with it. And the film itself, regardless of what you think of it, I mean, it's really simple, low budget, no budget sort of thing, and it's not maybe as slick as I might have wanted to do it if I really took my time with it, and if I was framing it myself, or had video assist, some kind of thing like that. A lot of the things I couldn't really finesse. I had to really be kind of very general about it. But I think I got across what I wanted to get across, and it was okay. Yeah, so thankful to everybody that worked on it. It really helped kick things off and get me at least a little bit of momentum to move on to a Bravo Effect short after that, and then Ontario Arts Council grant short. So yeah, it was great. Thanks.